Hey, it's a great day. I'm Mike Current, Energizer, and in this video I will be going through the 3 categories of weight that a thru-hiker should consider when embarking on a long trail. So let's do this. Hey, look, I know that this video will likely be my least viewed, least popular video, similar to the training video I put out and the mental preparation video that I just did. Not getting a lot of views for it. And this one I think is going to fall in line right with those. I'm going to put that disclaimer out there right now. My most popular video that I've done, if you look at all the old man and the PCT videos and all my AT prep videos, the most popular video that I have done is my AT thru-hike gear video. Most views, most likes, most comments, definitely the most popular one. And the funny part is, I really don't care that much about gear. I don't. I mean, I like my gear, don't get me wrong. I do like my gear, but I know that there is no single piece of equipment inside my rucksack that really is going to have a significant impact on whether or not I make it to Katahdin. It really isn't. So I've got my gear, but I set it aside and I focused in on the other things that I think are important in getting me ready to get to Katahdin. And that's what I cover in this video, the mental preparation video, and in the physical training video. But look, I get it. We are a consumer-based society. We are conditioned to try to find a solution that we can buy, that quick fix, you know, the charge card to success sort of thing. But through hiking, as in life, there is no elevator to success. You know, we've all got to take the stairs. And that's why I think it's kind of fitting that at Amicalola Falls State Park, the approach trail to get up to Springer Mountain, the start of the Appalachian Trail, actually has over 600 stairs right there. It starts off with 600 stairs. And I think it helps a thru-hiker realize that, yeah, there's no quick fix. This is going to be work to make this trail. So why bother? Why put this video together? Why even bother, knowing that it's just not going to get that many views? Well, the fact is, I think a lot about the 75%. Look, about 3,000 people show up at Springer Mountain every year. I mean, they have quit their jobs or retired early, maybe moved out of their apartment. They've put their car in storage, maybe their stuff in storage, bought thousands of dollars worth of gear, and now they're standing up on Springer Mountain, and yeah, everybody wants to make it to Katahdin. They do. Everybody wants to make it to Katahdin. But the reality is that only 25% of those people will make it to Katahdin. 75% won't. They will not make it. And so when I'm out training, I think a lot about that 25%. I think about what causes that person that has put so much effort, you know, told their family, sometimes with, you know, scrutiny and criticism that goes with that, told their family they're going on this big, long hike. What causes a person to do all of that and then quit, get off the trail? What causes that? And then what can I do to help prevent that? What can I do to help, even if it's just one person? If I can help one person go, I want to make it, I want to increase my odds. I want to make it. So I think a lot about that 75%. So this video and the last two videos, the physical preparation and the mental preparation videos, they're all about increasing the odds for the thru-hiker. That's what it's about. The three categories of weight that a thru-hiker needs to consider before getting on the trail and even as they are on the trail are the rucksack base weight, the food and water weight, and with that all the expendables like suntan lotion and bug spray, that sort of thing, and then body weight. Those are the three categories a thru-hiker should consider. The four factors that a thru-hiker should consider when looking overall at those three categories, base weight, food and water weight, body weight, the four categories a thru-hiker should consider when looking at that is ability, performance, recovery, and enjoyment. As far as ability, well, how much weight in total, looking at all, how much weight can a thru-hiker really handle? You know, the more they have of one, maybe the less they can handle of the other relative to a thru-hiker's size. But there reaches a point where a thru-hiker maxes out on the amount of weight they can carry. What is their ability to be able to carry that weight down the trail? What's that? And then it's performance. Now, okay, they can carry the weight, but how far can they go with that weight? And in relative, if they have X amount of weight and they're able to cover so many miles, let's say they can cover 10 miles, and then they reduce 20 pounds, and then they can cover 15 miles, and then they reduce maybe 30 pounds, and they can cover 20 miles, given the same amount of effort. So that's all about performance. Relative to the weight, how far, how fast, how much can they cover? Performance. Third thing, recovery. Obviously with thru-hiking, you got to go out there, you got to put on the miles, you got to go to bed, and then you get up the next day and you got to do it again and again and again and again. So based on the weight, the total weight that a thru-hiker has, what is their ability, their body's ability to recover and then consistently do that over and over and over again? Granted, the less weight, the less burden on the body, the greater the ability for the thru-hiker to recover overnight and then perform the next day. And then the final thing is enjoyment. You know, if you were to look at all the factors, everything that a thru-hiker does during the day and you put it into categories, you know, thru-hiker is going to spend this amount of time cooking breakfast every day. They're going to spend this amount of time sitting around a campfire every day. They're going to spend this amount of time sleeping in their sleeping bag every day. The one that is the one that takes up the most time, you know, when you break them down in the categories, is the amount of time a thru-hiker spends walking the trail with the rucksack on. And so you would figure that that is the part of the trail that a thru-hiker would want to maximize the enjoyment. I mean, if you're walking down the trail and you were just burdened down by a huge rucksack and you're not enjoying that time, that means the majority of your time on the trail you are not enjoying. You might enjoy that little bit of time in the campground, but overall you're not enjoying the major portion of your day, and that will get to the head eventually. You know, if not in the first 30 miles, where at least 10% of thru-hikers quit. So that's it. So when we're looking at weight, the three categories of weight, we really are thinking about how can we maximize the thru-hiker's enjoyment on the trail so he's mentally refreshed, that's not wearing him down, and so he's going to want to do it over and over and over again, and he's going to make it all the way to Katahdin. That's what it's about. So the four categories: ability, performance, recovery, and enjoyment. That's what we look at when we look at all the weight that a thru-hiker has to carry in the three categories: base weight, food and water weight, and body weight. Now, before I get into breaking the pack weight down into its two categories, base weight, food and water weight. Before I break that down, I do want to talk about the overall weight of a rucksack. Now on the PCT, as you saw, if you watched Old Man and the PCT videos, I did a 210 mile carry in the desert and a 260 mile carry in the desert. A lot of weight versus food. And in the Sierra, I did a 170 mile carry and a 200 mile carry. So a lot of time to evaluate that pack weight. And I just figured, well, it's just food. You know, you eat food, it goes away, no big deal. No, you know, and what I thought would happen is I thought, okay, my performance level is here based on this weight. And if I add a little bit of weight to my rucksack, well, my performance will go down just a little bit. And if I add a little bit more weight, my performance will go down just a little bit more. I thought it would be a linear, you know, digression. More weight, less performance, but a linear digression. And what I found was I hit a critical point in my rucksack. A critical point in my rucksack where my performance, my recovery, and certainly my enjoyment just took a nosedive. It went down drastically. It wasn't a linear progression. I was cooking along, I was doing great, I added a couple more pounds, and boom, the body just fell apart. Now remember, I talked about the 75%. One of the things I think about is how many of those 75% and 10% quit by mountain crossings, mile marker 31, how many people get on the trail, they start the trail already above their critical point, and they don't even know it. They didn't have the opportunity like me to be able to experiment with different weights and then realize based on performance over and over thousands of miles to go, yes, that's my critical point in weight. They didn't have that. They just got on the trail and they were already above their critical point with their weight in their rucksack. And so for them, they started that at that point of impossibility. And that's what drove them right off the trail by mountain crossings. If they had only arrived at Springer Mountain, if they'd only arrived at Springer Mountain with maybe 5 pounds or 7 pounds less in the rucksack, I can tell you just a little bit of weight makes a huge difference. When a person reaches that critical point, everything takes a nosedive. It certainly did for me. And if they can stay under that, then their ability, performance, recovery, and enjoyment stays at a good constant level. Let's talk about base weight. The base weight in a rucksack is everything in the rucksack that the hiker is going to be carrying minus food and water and other expendables like bug spray and suntan lotion and that sort of thing. It's just what they're carrying in their rucksack besides the stuff, the consumables that'll be going away, food, water, that sort of thing. A thru-hiker should know their base weight. It's kind of like a standard unit of measurement. If you ever taken high school chemistry, a person should know what their base weight is. That way, they can be able to have an idea of looking at it, what they've got, and relative to other individuals. Now, what's the right base weight? That's up to the individual. You know, whatever that is, that's up to the individual, but they should know what is in the ruck and they should know how much that weighs, because at some point, if they're evaluating ability, performance, recovery, and enjoyment, that's going to play a factor into that, knowing what their base weight is. So put everything in your ruck and put it on a scale. You don't have to tell anybody what that is. You can keep that to yourself. I mean, Mountain Crossings makes they do pack shakedowns at the mile marker 31. Why? Because people arrive at the trail, they throw a whole bunch of stuff in it, and they really haven't considered what their base weight is. And then their body tells them, based on ability, recovery, performance, and enjoyment, that base weight is too much in those first 30 miles, and then they've got to do a shakedown. So that's one of the things to consider when you're putting stuff into the rucksack. What is that base weight? What is it relative to you? What is it relative to other hikers? Is it good? I mean, if you arrive at the trail with a 40-pound base weight, well, you should know that that's quite a bit above the average. If you're down in the 10-pound base weight, well, you should know that that's quite a bit below the average. And so you should be able to gauge that and know where you stand. And then you can gauge based on your physical strength and all that kind of stuff, what is your ability to be able to handle that kind of weight going up and down the hills. Am I saying a person cannot complete the trail carrying a 50-pound rucksack? Absolutely not. If it is your desire to carry 50 pounds of base weight, bring it on. Hey, I'm doing this, and you make it to Katahdin, more power to you. But statistically, your chances are less. And remember, going back to the first part of this video, I'm thinking about the 75%. Get those one or two people that are really listening, get them from the 75% category, get them into the 25% category so they complete their hike. To get one's base weight down, really think about every single item that is inside the rucksack. Go through it, pick it up, think about it, and then think about how much time you're actually going to be using that piece of item. New thru hikers, you know, I was in that boat myself. You know, it's buying that, all those cool stuff. When I arrive at the campsite and I set this up, I'm going to break out this really neat little thing, and it's going to do X for me. And so I'm going to put it inside the ruck. I'm going to buy it, I'm going to put it inside the ruck. But if you add up all the hours of a day, that little amount of time that you're going to be using that thing isn't that much. But you're going to be carrying that thing the entire time. I mean, there's a truism around thru hikers, and that is the more miles you walk, the less you need. Now, I understand that some of us, like me, we're older thru hikers. And, you know, we're going to watch this video and say, you know, Mike, that's all well and good, but I'm a little older. The body's getting older. It needs a few more creature comfort items to survive. And I understand that. I get that. But I also think about Nimble Nomad. Nimble Nomad hiked the Appalachian Trail last year, 2021. And he became the oldest person to hike the AT. He was 83 years old when he completed it. So here is now the oldest person ever to hike the Appalachian Trail, age of 83. His base weight was 8.5 pounds. 4 pounds under what I'm carrying. And he's 83 years old. So I'm thinking, well, if an 83-year-old man, he only needs 8.5 pounds, certainly isn't carrying a camp chair, maybe I can do it. Maybe, you know, maybe I've got already too much stuff, but maybe I don't need those extra items. Now, I know there are individuals out there that will argue, hey, my base weight is a lot because I'm a bigger and taller guy. You know, and they look at me and go, hey, Mike, you're 5'7", 140 pounds. You know, you've got a 12.6 base weight. Well, because you're a little guy. And I'm a big guy, so I've got a big base weight. If a person wants to carry a lot of weight as far as their base weight, I'm not saying not do it. I'm not saying not do it. But if the reasoning behind it is I'm just a bigger guy, I'm a taller guy, you might want to spend a little time looking at that. I did. I looked at it. I was thinking, okay, well, I'm not a big guy. What would the difference be between me and a much taller and a bigger guy in base weight? Well, first I looked at all the items in my rucksack, and let's face it, no matter what size you are, some items just don't change in size. They don't. I don't care if you're a 220-pound man or a 120-pound man, the thing that you're carrying is the same. My Sawyer squeeze is going to be the same size as somebody that's much taller or bigger than me. My spork is going to be the same size as somebody that's much taller and bigger than me. My trowel is going to be the same size as somebody that's much taller and much bigger than me. And I could go on. There are many items within the rucksack that are simply going to be the same size no matter who is carrying them. Now, where they will differ, and that person has a point, where it will differ is in the big three and in clothing. Big three and then in clothing. Those will differ in size based on the size of the hiker. So I looked at that. I said, okay, well, Mike, these are your big three items. This is what they are. These are your big three items. This is how much they weigh based on the manufacturer. This is what the manufacturer says for your item at your size. This is how much they weigh. And then I said, all right, that same make and model in the largest size carried. If it was my Enlightened equipment size, regular small for my quilt, well, I'm going to go for the large. I mean, it's like extra large and tall. I went for the biggest size. And then I figured out what that weight was. And I did the same thing with my rucksack. I did it with my tent. Instead of the duplex, I went with the duplex XL, get the big version. And then for my sleeping pad, instead of the Neo X-Lite Air, I used the women's cut version. It's little. I went for the extra bigger, the biggest Neo X-Lite pad that's made. And then I put all the weights together and I added them up and I figured, all right, Mike, this is how much your big three are. And this, with somebody using the exact same big three as you at the maximum size that all that stuff comes into, this is what the weight is. And you know what the difference was? 8.4 ounces. A little over half a pound. That was it. A little over half a pound. And you can do the same thing with clothing. For every piece of clothing I've got in the rucksack, you can go through and it'll add up a little bit more for the clothing, but it isn't that much. So if you're with a group of individuals and they've all got rucksacks and they're all saying, hey, we're at 15 pounds for a base weight, and you're with them and you're at 25 pounds and you're saying, well, it's because I'm big and tall and all you guys are little, and there's a 10-pound difference, you really might want to look at that. Moving on to food and water. Past the base weight, moving on to food and water. First, looking at water. Carry what you need, but hopefully not your feeders. In the PCT, I was a Nobo. And so, like all Nobos, I started off in the desert. And for a good chunk of the desert, I had to carry 5 liters of water. 11 pounds in the rucksack just in water. And sometimes that wasn't enough. I was reaching to get to the next cache or the next reliable water source. I was, reaching for that. And because of that paranoia, even 5 liters of water not being enough, for the remainder of the Pacific Crest Trail, I had the ability to carry 2.7 liters of water, and I did almost all the time. I would have 2.7 liters of water on me. Even in parts where it was not needed at all, there would be plenty of water stops, and I just didn't need to carry that. But because of the desert, I got it in my head that I needed water, and I had that fear, so I was packing my fears 2.7 liters of water. I could have easily, for a good chunk of the Pacific Crest Trail, dropped a liter out of my rucksack, 2 pounds out of my rucksack, and I never would have needed it. And I would have not had to carry that water weight all of that time. I wouldn't have had to carry it. So for the Appalachian Trail, lessons learned from the Pacific Crest Trail, because of the nature of the trail, and there is an abundance of water, even during the summer months, there's an abundance of water. I'll balance that, make sure that that is true. But I'm starting off with the ability to only carry 1.7 liters of water. I'm going to force the issue, force myself to take more breaks, be able to camel up more, so I am not carrying my fears. I'm not carrying that extra water weight needlessly. Now moving on to food weight. Before I talk about individual items, overall food weight. Think about how much all of the food weighs. Like I said earlier, I did a 210-mile carry and a 260-mile carry in the desert, and I had to pack all that food, and that was just dumb. It's just way too much weight on the body. It drastically hurt my performance. And it's not necessary. If you're hiking the Appalachian Trail, let's face it, we're going to be crossing a road about every 20 miles where a person can realistically get off, and for most places, can get off and go for a resupply. And there really is no reason for a person to go more than 50 or 60 miles before the next resupply. Just a nice, I understand the 100-mile wilderness, I got it, but most of the trail, almost all of the trail, there is no reason to be carrying that kind of food weight. 2.5, 3 days worth of food, that's all we'll all need, and then we can go in and get resupplied and then get back on the trail. The big lesson learned I took away from the PCT was it would have been better for my performance overall. Ability, yeah, I did it. I was able to handle it. But performance, it would have made more sense for me to have taken more stops, more resupplies, and then my ability to cover more miles every day would have improved if I had done that. Next, think about the food you're carrying and the calories it provides. Just about every vlogger out there, about a third of the way in their hike, they're going to be talking about this. It's all about how much does that one item give me in calories. That's what you're looking for. How many calories are in this? That's what's important. And then think about how many calories am I getting versus the weight that item, it weighs. Dehydrated foods are probably the best bet. All that water weight, moisture weight is already taken out of the food, and so you can get a lot of calories and sometimes taste with dehydrated food. Some of the Knorr's packets, that sort of thing, or the pre-made meals. These are really good, although the packaging itself can weigh a little bit. So on the PCT, I actually put it in freezer lock bags. As I was getting on the trail, I would transfer these to freezer lock bags, and that would get rid of the extra weight from these packages, and also the trash, although that's not as big an issue on the AT because there's a lot of places to get rid of trash on the AT relative to the PCT. But these are really good. Dehydrated food, get a lot of calories for the weight. One of the things that you get a lot of calories from, but there's a lot of weight with them, is energy bars. if you look at it. The most, in category wise, the most weight per category of food item that I carried along the PCT was my energy bars. And so I knew I was going to eat them every single day because they were costing me a lot of weight on the body. So I was going to make sure I was going to eat them. So that's something to consider. Look at how many ounces, how many calories. I know that sounds kind of anal, but that's really where you get to. Now, the last category of weight that I believe a thru hiker should be thinking about, and yes, I do know this is a sensitive subject, is body weight. Let's face it, weight is weight. The knees don't care where it's coming from. You know, one of the things that busts my buns is when I read on one of these social media forums, a person is getting ready for a thru hike and they write in and say, hey, you know, my doctor just told me I'm 20 pounds overweight and I'm looking at, you know, losing that weight before I get on trail. Invariably somebody down in the comments will say, you know, don't worry about the weight. Don't worry about the weight. You're going to need all that extra weight for energy, and you're going to lose it by the halfway mark anyway. Okay, well, let's peel back the logic of that comment a few layers. The individual does lose the weight by the halfway mark, right? And they go on to make it to Katahdin. Well, they made it from the halfway mark to Katahdin without that weight. So why would they have needed that weight for the first half of the trail? They didn't need it for the second half of the trail. Why did they need it for the first half of the trail? And you know how when people are on the trail and they get to the halfway mark and you see it on other vloggers, they'll sit there and they go, yeah, I got my trail legs and I'm feeling strong and I'm covering those big miles. And they're all attributing it to their trail legs, right? That's what they're attributing it to. Well, it could be the fact that they're carrying 20 pounds less of weight around. They've dropped that weight by the halfway mark and they're just 20 pounds lighter. And that's one of the reasons that they're able to cover more miles and enjoy the trail more. That's what's causing it to happen. And remember, that person assumes, the person who made that comment, assumes the person they are talking with is actually going to make it to the halfway mark. And as we know, 50% of those that drop out by the 300-mile mark. They never get the chance to drop those 20 pounds. They're already off the trail. Let's say a person decides to go on a thru hike and, you know, they haven't done a lot of physical activity. So this is going to be a big event for them. So they go and see their doctor, which I do recommend a person do. Go see your doctor. And the doctor says, hey, you know, you're 30 pounds overweight. This is your size. This is your BMI. You are 30 pounds overweight. I'm not saying this. This is a doctor saying this. And let's say that person says, well, you know, yeah, that's nice, but I'm comfortable with my weight and I'm not going to do anything about it. And I'm getting on the trail just the way I am. Go for it. Hike your own hike. Do your thing. I'm not, you know, going to say don't do that. But let's say that individual says, okay, doc, I got it. I want to do this hike. I'm 30 pounds overweight. I'm going to try to lose some weight. Let's say that person doesn't lose the 30 pounds. They just lose 2 pounds. That's it. 2 pounds. 30 pounds overweight, lost 2 pounds. What does that mean to that hiker? This 1 liter bottle of water is free weight. As far as their body concerned, because they lost the 2 pounds on their body will not feel this on their back. It's a total sum gain. So this is free weight. Let's say that individual doesn't lose 2 pounds, they lose 10 pounds. And they show up at the trail with a base weight in their rucksack of 20 pounds. It means that half of their base weight is free weight. Their legs don't know it's there. They haven't done any difference in physical activity, but because they took 10 pounds off the body, they put 10 pounds in the ruck, and that 10 pounds is free weight. The body doesn't feel it. It's a total sum game. Now, I know some of you are saying, hey, Mike, pack weight is not the same as live weight. And you would be right. It's not. Carrying live weight is harder for two reasons. One, pack weight. Now, when I get to camp or I get to a stream or I want to take a break, I can take the pack weight off the body. I can take my backpack off, I can set it down, and I'm not carrying that extra weight around. Bodyweight's 24/7. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, and even when you're dreaming, it's still there. You're carrying that weight 24/7. And the other thing is, pack weight's dead weight. When you carry it, you're expending energy. But when you're not carrying, you're not expending energy. But think about all the extra weight on the body, and it's really not doing anything for you. It's not making you move faster or anything else like that, but it's living tissue. So every time your heart beats and you take in a breath of air or part of your energy from nutrition or anything else like that, a percentage of all that has to go to maintaining that extra weight on the body. Even though it's not doing anything for you, you're having to feed that extra weight. And that's taking away all that energy, that breath, that blood, all that is been taken away from the rest of your body that needs it when you're hiking up and down those trails. Look, I'm not saying that an overweight person shouldn't get on the trail. Absolutely not. I am not. Don't confuse what I'm saying in my video as being some kind of judgmental. I mean, if you watch Old Man in the PCT, my video's there, you know one of my thru-hiking idols is Heather Anderson. And, you know, by her own admission, the first time she hiked the Appalachian Trail, she was overweight and out of shape. She was. But Anish has got this, and if you've read anything about her, you know she has an inhuman ability to suffer pain. Her mental toughness is just off the scale. And when she hiked the Appalachian Trail the first time, and by her own admission, she was out of shape and overweight, she did it in 4 months. I mean, athletic pace, she completed the trail. And that's just because she's so mentally tough. Are there people like Anish that are able to get through the hike and overcome the odds and you know, not listen to anything I've said or you know, just have that biggest ruck and the most food and the biggest body and they'll make it to Katahdin and they're just kicking butt? Certainly. But the odds are stacked against them. They know that. The odds are stacked against them. And this video is about increasing the odds for everybody, increasing the odds for you that are getting on the trail, so you will see Katahdin. You'll have that victory picture. Like I said in this video, I'm not a big guy, and I'm not a great athlete. I'm not. I'm a 59-year-old man with a busted up body. And so what I just try to do is maximize what I've got. That's all. That's what I'm trying to do, maximize what I've got. So to get ready for this hike, like I've said before, I dropped 12 pounds off the body, got my body mass index down to 21. I have a base weight of 12.6 pounds, and that's with all my vlogging gear. So that's below average. And because I dropped 12 pounds and I'm only carrying 12 pounds, my base weight is essentially free weight. I'm thinking a lot about the food I'm going to carry. I'm not going to do those 200-mile carries, the 260-mile carries like I did on the PCT. I'm looking at going into town about every 3 days, keep that amount of food in the rucksack to keep the ruck down, and I am limiting myself to 1.7 liters of water, again, to keep the water weight down, trying to maximize keeping the weight down, all three categories, to increase my ability, my performance, my recovery, and my enjoyment on the trail. Look, I have not presented any new information in this video. I know that. There are enough surveys out there, enough statistics, enough reports, enough studies done that show that a person with a lower pack weight and a lower BMI has a greater chance of completing a thru hike and is less susceptible to injury. I mean, there's enough reports out there. You can Google them, you can see it. This is just a different presentation of that information. If you finish with this video and you say, hey, Mike, none of that's for me. I'm gonna weigh what I weigh. My pack's gonna weigh what it's gonna weigh, and I'm getting on that trail, and you know, hike your own hike. Enjoy that. Enjoy that. But if you are getting on the trail and you've thought about those things and you're wondering, hey, am I going to be in the 75% or am I going to be in the 25%? And I want to increase my odds to make sure I'm in the 25%. Then maybe you've taken something away from this video and it'll help you better prepare. That's what it's all about. This video, the mental preparation video, physical preparation video, that's what those three videos are all about. Getting the person from the 75% category up into the 25% category, so they're going to get that victory picture up on Katahdin. That is what it's all about. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm getting on the trail. It's going to be happening soon. Some people are already out there, but as you know, I'm starting on 1 May. That's the right time for me. And I'm going to keep, I'll make a few more preparation videos, but come 1 May, I'll be on the trail. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe, and we'll continue to take this journey together. It's going to be great.